So I think my biggest takeaway when I was watching the Dresden Files TV series, which, it's from the mid 2000s and it's based on a book series that I'm only familiar with because my ex is a big fan of it. But my biggest takeaway from the TV series was that it's essentially supernatural without all of the winking at the camera.
Welcome back, listeners, to another episode of the Lasercomb Podcast, episode 79. I am one of your hosts, NeoCal.
And I'm Siege, the other guy.
And today, on the day of our Lord, whatever day that you're watching this, we are covering the Dresden Files.
Yep, episode 10 of the Dresden Files. This was a Patreon pick from a new Patreon subscriber. The human, the myth, the legend themselves, who go known only as Vampiro, 2K21. Vampiro.
I liked 2K20 better than 2K21, but we'll see. We'll see how Vampiro 2K23 plays.
Well, the beginning of 2K20 wasn't so bad. I went to Fan Expo and I went to WWE SmackDown on Valentine's Day, no less.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah. And then some stuff happened a few weeks later.
Some stuff.
Some stuff.
Did it have anything to do with urban fantasy magic?
Perhaps. Although I think it has more to do with mega corporation, bioengineering, T-virus type stuff.
Oh, and literal dystopia. Literal end of the world. Not quite the cyberpunk dystopia we want, but the cyberpunk dystopia we deserve.
Unfortunately, it wasn't accompanied by a
immortality, glowing eyes, super strength,
super strength, and a dude in a sick trench coat with shades, just like laughing maniacally. Because I think I could be okay with the end of the world if like that's what evil is. It's just Albert Wesker being all like, ha 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 ha, Chris Redfield.
Yeah, instead it's just whatever the fuck Elon Musk is.
Whatever the fuck Elon Musk is, and like a Cheeto faced douchebag that just won't disappear from American politics.
Gosh, dang it.
Shots
I
fired.
can apply to like 5 of those dudes now.
Yeah.
The Wild West. And you know what? Well, I do like the hat, but it is very hot. You know what? Yeah, I'm going to try to keep it on. So Wild West time, Vampire. I was trying to make like a video game reference because like the NHL and the FIFA games coming out every single year. But damn it, it went somewhere else.
You ever play that game, Vampire or Vampire, however you pronounce it, that came out
it's in like just got like a generic looking white dude on the front.
Yeah.
Like with vampire teeth.
It's pretty good.
Never played that. Yeah?
I played through it a couple of times. It's got that very like
the studio who made it is
it was published by Focus Home Interactive, who I actually really like their games because they publish like European developed games that have a lot of charm and personality to them, but are janky as fuck. Oh, and like the jankiness is Focus Home Interactive, I believe. And they're the jankiness is part of the charm of their games. They publish the Sherlock Holmes games.
Yes.
Yeah.
Vampire.
Yeah, if you can.
Okay, A Plague Tale. That's how I Atomic Heart. Oh, they did. Huh.
Yeah, if you can get, Vampire came out in like 2018 at this point, so it's got to be
Yeah.
super cheap. If you can find it like cheap, highly recommended.
Oh, okay. I will. I
There's
will.
some interesting mechanics in that game. Like you play as a doctor who in like Victorian London who gets turned into a vampire, and so you have to kind of balance like your own hunger with like actually like trying to treat like patients, and like what you decide to do like has an effect on the city, and you can like quite literally like be a righteous vampire and like lean more into your humanity and actually like save London, or you can just turn it into like a chaotic hellscape where everyone is dead.
Interesting.
Yeah, the game gives you a lot of freedom on that front.
You know what other vampire gives us a lot of freedom?
Hmm.
Patreon. You're not hiding from anyone. He's actually a vampire. Um, yeah,
Hiding in plain
so
sight.
hiding in plain sight, except during the day. So unless he's a filthy daywalker, like Blade.
Right. Well, Blade's only a half vampire though.
He's a half vampire. Okay, so are half vampires stronger than normal vampires?
I don't think so. Well,
It's just that he has the advantages and disadvantages of both, right?
yeah, it's they say that he has all of their strengths and none of their weaknesses. So he's not necessarily more powerful than vampires.
He
It's
just
just you can't take him out with sunlight or garlic. So that gives him an advantage.
silver nitrate or whatever it is in the second
Yeah.
movie. Um, there's no vampires in Dresden Files, are there? Maybe there are. There's werewolves.
I have no idea. Tell me about the Dresden Files.
Oh gosh. Okay, so I've only read the first two books, which
That's two
someone
more than
you
I've made.
which
Than
someone
I've read.
you have done a previous podcast with lent me.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. My former partner, Krista, who's been on a couple of episodes of this show.
Hmm.
She is a big fan of the Dresden Files books.
Yeah, I
Uh,
reread the
I talked to her
first book.
today, though. Interestingly enough, she has never watched the show.
Yeah. And so going into it right away, I'm like, "Ooh, Bob, the talking skull. Hell yeah, let's get into this." Um, and he's an old sorcerer who's like stuck. His soul is like stuck inside of um, like his own skull. And Harry Dresden has it for
I
some
thought it was
reason.
I thought it was kind of interesting because in a way, like it's kind of like his magic lamp.
Kind of. Somebody even mentions at the beginning, they're like, "Oh, is he like a genie?"
Yeah. Yeah,
Right?
his skull is kind of his magic lamp. He's like a spectral being that is bound forever to hit
His
his
skull,
skull.
which has a whole bunch of like magic arcane runes like carved into it. And for whatever reason, he's cannot go into like the afterlife, and he's bound into the skull, which he doesn't seem actually. He's curmudgeony, but he doesn't seem to mind.
I mean, I guess when you're like committed to the when you've been forever ensnared to the spectral realm, uh, unable to move to the great beyond for centuries. I guess you kind of just get used to it after a while.
And indeed, it's implied that like he's only knowledgeable about the things that when he projects, yeah, when he projects an image of himself, um, he can talk to people, he can remember things. He's Bob. His real name's like Robert Wilson, like like an old timey fancy noble person's name. But they
Uh,
just call him Bob.
his name is Hrothbert Bainbridge.
Rothbert.
Hrothbert.
Oh, that is fucking beautiful. If that's not a sorcerer name,
Hroth-
Rothbert.
Hrothbert Bainbridge.
Call me by my full name, peasant. Rothbert Bainbridge. That's a great fucking wizard name. Holy
That is a
shit.
great wizard name.
And the episodes, What About Bob? And now starting to go into the episode, I
But
was like,
wait,
ooh, this might be a bad.
have you seen the movie What About Bob? Bill Murray
Uh,
comedy from the 80s.
no, no, I haven't.
It's a movie I used to like when I was a little kid.
What about Bob? You say?
Yeah, it was Bill Murray is kind of like this lovable idiot, and I can't remember like what the exact plot was, but like he ends up basically inadvertently making this dude's life a living hell. It's one of those kind of comedies.
The 80s and 90s were like Wild Wests for comedies. You could just have a funny dude, and that would be a license to print money. You know what I mean? Like get Bill Murray or
Oh, directed by Frank Oz.
really?
Yeah, starring Bill Murray and Richard Dreyfuss. Murray plays Bob Wiley, a mentally unstable patient who follows his egotistical psychotherapist, Dr. Leo Marvin, on vacation. When Bob befriends the other members of Leo's family, the patient's problems push the doctor over the edge. The film received positive reviews and grossed $63.7 million dollars.
Huh. Like I said, license to print money back in the day. I feel like that's not enough now.
Uh, $63.7 million dollars against the $39 million budget. Yeah, no, that wouldn't be considered a hit nowadays. It
No.
came out in 1991.
Well, maybe I was wrong. But yeah, if it's like Robin Williams, anything with Robin Williams is going to bring families in.
You ever see the
Anything with
movie
Bill
World's
Murray.
Greatest Dad?
No.
It was one of Robin Williams' later films. It's definitely not a family film. One of his best performances, though.
Oh, oh, I have not seen this. Maybe I should check it out. Oh, it's got good reviews.
Yeah, yeah. I think it's actually one of his most critically acclaimed films. And I remember it came out when we worked at Blockbuster, and I remember so many people returning it.
Really?
Yeah, because they would be like, says
Oh,
Robin
they were
Williams
expecting a.
this isn't funny. And it's like, well, it is. It's just, it's not like RV. It's not like that kind of humor. It's like very like dark, like kind of tragic humor.
88% Rotten Tomatoes. Oh, I'll have to check this out.
Yeah, it was directed by Bobcat Goldthwait, of all people.
Who's that?
Bobcat Goldthwait. Uh,
I mean, it's a very unique name, but I can't recall
he's a stand-up comedian. He's the if you heard his voice, you'd know exactly who he was.
if I heard his voice.
If you heard his voice, yeah. He kind of talks like a Muppet.
Oh, that fucking guy. Hey,
Yeah.
thank you very much.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, it was directed by him.
So good to be on the show. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Right? Because I was like, voice.
There
And
was
then
that
when I like saw pictures of him, I'm like, God damn it, that guy.
Yeah, there was a sitcom that was on in the 90s called Unhappily Ever After, which was basically just a Married with Children ripoff.
I remember
It was kind of the breakout role for what was her name? Nikki Cox, I think, who kind of had a bit of a career in the 2000s. Don't know whatever happened to her, but she was kind of a sex symbol type actress. But anyway,
right.
Bobcat Goldthwait did the voice of this like puppet of a rabbit, I think, who lived in the
Yeah.
basement.
Oh my god. You just like unlocked like chunk of my
We should review an episode of
brain.
that on this show sometime.
So random. Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, it was like an imaginary friend that was like a rabbit or something in the
it was a
basement.
rabbit or a dog or something. It was a
Yeah,
puppet of a small animal. Yeah, unhappily ever after.
that's a good wizard name. Bobcat Goldthwait. No, maybe that's a villain name in the Dresden Files.
Bobcat Goldthwait sounds like the name of like a jazz musician.
It does.
All right, folks. I hope you're having a real good time here. Give it up for the smooth sounds of Bobcat Goldthwait.
You've convinced me. If you if you look up pictures of him too, he kind of looks like a retired jazz musician or country singer.
And really, he kind of talks like a lot of those old like jazz singers would sing, too.
Kind of. Yeah.
Skibbity bee bee dibbity bob bee
Like blues,
skibbity
yeah.
dee.
I got the skibbity blues. I got the skibbity blues. Ah. Well, anyways, that's been the Dresden. No, it's we're not like we're not stalling because we didn't like it. One of my worries about episode 10, what about Bob in the Dresden Files, was man, like, is someone who's watching a random episode of this like going to know who Bob is, going to care? And a lot of the episode is going into the backstory of Harry Dresden's childhood
Right.
and who Bob is, kind of, and his connection to Harry Dresden's uncle. You know what? Even though like it's not very episodic, hot damn, man. Like, no,
Oh,
they
I picked up on what was going on while I was
you
watching it.
did, yeah,
The
very
only thing,
easily.
the only thing was I didn't clue in until late in the episode that the doppelganger dude was a doppelganger of his uncle. That was the only
Oh
thing I didn't
yeah,
clue
it's
into.
a blink and you miss kind of thing. He goes, "Oh, I'm not." A couple times throughout it, but right when, um,
But like I knew that he was a doppelganger of someone, but I didn't realize the person that he was a doppelganger of was actually the uncle
right.
of of, you
Oh, I
know,
see what you're saying.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I caught it fairly early because he was like, "Oh, I'm just a copy." Blah blah blah. But I guess they don't really get into who his uncle is until after you've met the copy.
Yeah, exactly.
Because as we find out, and again, I think the back and forth that can be annoying to me in a movie when it's like 13 years ago, 5 years ago, present, and it jumps around like that. I can hate that in TV shows. It No, it was fine in this. Shows you, like,
There was one scene where I was initially like didn't realize that it was a flashback.
was it
It was the scene where he actually ends up killing his uncle.
when it's because he's wearing the same jacket and
He's dressed the same. Bob is there. He's dressed the same. His uncle is there. He's dressed the exact same as his doppelganger. I'm like, oh, he's just going to, because like before we go to that flashback, he's going to like try the crystal starts glowing, and he's going to try and track down Bob and like what's going on with him. And then we just cut to his uncle's mansion, and he goes there and gets like into a fight with his uncle and uses the
right.
voodoo doll.
And you didn't know he was a copy so you didn't know it was a flashback. And yeah.
Well, no, I knew he was a copy. I just didn't realize that that was a flashback. I thought he was just going. That was just him going to save Bob, and he ends up killing the
Oh,
doppelganger.
okay. So yeah,
It
there
took
you
me a
go.
minute or two to. I'm like, oh wait, no, this is a flashback to him, like to how his uncle actually died. Oh, okay, I get it.
Yeah, because the hook of the show is Murphy. It's kind of like a detective that he works with on
Cop lady,
cases here and there. Cop lady, yeah. Um,
cop lady, and Frank Drebin.
and Frank Drebin, um, cop lady and Frank Drebin. They don't always agree eye to eye. One believes in science and facts, and while the other one's an actual fucking wizard. Um, but somehow it's implied that something happened in one of the previous episodes where her memory was wiped or she was killed and brought back by Harry. He saved her somehow, pulled her soul back in or something, because she keeps having like nightmares,
Mm.
right? And they involve like Dresden, and they're not always good, and they're like scary and all that kind of thing. But she's very much like the Scully. This is like a more hyper range of like Mulder and Scully, where it's like magic
Okay.
literally exists. They're actually demons. And she's like, damn it, in my world, I believe in science. And it's like, how much do you need to see before you go, oh shit?
Yeah. I didn't really like. I see what you're saying. I didn't really like. That wasn't really my takeaway from their relationship.
Their characterizations in their relationship isn't like that. I just mean like the
Yeah, yeah. I see what
their
you're saying.
viewpoints, right? And even at the very end, I thought it was going to be contrived or boring, but no, I like their interactions. Even
You
though
know,
he's not like this dude, like wearing a trench coat and being mysterious and fighting demons naked in the rain. Um, I thought he was cool. Also, his wizard staff is a hockey stick.
Yeah, I thought that
That
was
was a
funny.
choice, but I'm okay with it. I'm okay with that.
Speaking of a choice and things being funny, at the beginning of the episode, we open with a flashback to Frank Drebin as a kid, uh, which at first I didn't realize that this was a flashback. I thought that the like grown up dude was just his was just the main character. Uh,
Oh, because it does. It starts immediately. And you know what? There's certain look that white dudes in their like early 40s, late 30s with facial hair have. And if you're not used to watching the show, it does kind of just look like this is the this is the
I thought this was
protagonist.
just the present, because
Yeah.
um, and so the kid the dad gets like a letter or something, and the kid is like, "What? Do we have another job, Dad?" And he's like, "Yeah, well, we're going on this big trip. Woohoo! Yeah, yeah!" And they're all happy and excited, and the dude drops dead. I fucking burst out laughing.
Really? Yeah.
It's
So
supposed to be this really like sad and like touching and tender moment. I'm just like I'm just like they do that very like easy to parody thing where it's like, yeah, everyone's happy and celebrating, and then immediately something tragic happens.
yeah, his dad is a magician, and I
Yeah,
guess he got a job on a cruise ship. And he's
yeah,
like, one show every night of the week, three on the weekend. Hell yeah, baby. And so he's bringing his kid along.
yeah,
And I'm like, oh, sweet. Bam, heart attack.
yeah,
Like a quick one, too. Not like take me to the hospital, but like can barely talk. And then in like 15 seconds, dead. And
yeah.
I'm like, sheesh. And you know what? Like, fuck. This, this TV show could have sucked, but like
It
the
could have, yeah,
writing's there, man. Like that's timed so well with the rest of the story, because he finds out how his dad actually died because of Murphy looking into how his uncle dies. And it's revealed to us that actually Harry was lying and he did fucking kill his uncle.
well,
But then you find out he deserved it. Fuck that
and
guy.
when Cop Lady goes to confront him about his uncle's death, like the way he was acting, I'm like, this motherfucker is acting like a guilty person in like
And
his
she
defensiveness,
knows it.
in his like defensiveness and like constant denials. I'm like,
He's not a good liar.
no, he's not. And his very like, I don't know, just the way he would that interaction. I'm like, this guy seems guilty.
That he's acting like a motherfucker who killed a motherfucker.
Which at the time I was kind of confused about. I'm like, is this just bad writing slash acting? Because he's supposed to be the hero of the show.
That's what I thought. And I'm like, it's but no, they've been good up to this point. So what's going on? And
Yeah,
then it's like, no, he fucking killed him. The actor is good enough to act like he's bad at lying.
yeah. Well, and we're first introduced to Frank Drebin in the episode because he has hooked
Ooh,
up with this like mid 2000s like Lacuna
man,
Coil
what a
looking
time of
Rocco
its
chick.
Lacuna Coil
She's got
groupie.
she's got that look going.
So Lacuna Coil groupie is sneaking out of this. Okay. I messaged Christopher when I started like watching this, and I was like, I don't remember Harry Dresden fucking goth bitches and like punk chicks in the books. And he sent me a gif from Robin Hood Men in Tights.
It's a good
Fucking,
change. It's a good change.
that's
I'm
a
glad
good
there was a
change. That's a good change. The king, yeah.
I'm glad there was a gif of that because that's exactly what I was thinking of when I searched for it. I just typed
Right.
good change and I'm like, sweet.
And
But yeah, no, this chick has that like very like mid to late 2000s like symphonic metal, like not goth per se, but like
no, like
but like leather, like tight leather.
Just what's yeah, not
Tight
like
like
new
matte,
metal, but yeah,
tight.
yeah.
No, not new metal. No, this is like
How dare you? Yeah.
no, this is like the look of like bands.
It's hard to describe to the people that weren't adults in the mid 2000s. Like she
It's
probably has a tramp stamp
um
or a butterfly tattoo somewhere.
just look at how like bands like Epica or Lacuna Coil or um Arch Enemy, like
There you go.
bands like that at the like the dress, like that's the look that she has going.
Yeah, yeah. And well, wouldn't you
Her
know it,
name is her name is Tara, and indeed, like
it
I
looks like a
thought
Terra.
she does. Indeed, like I thought that the way she's very like kind of nonchalantly like introduced as though we're supposed to know who she is.
I almost thought she was like a main
I
character.
thought she was a regular. I looked her up. No, this is the only episode she was in.
Yeah, and then I realized she wasn't when she's fucking burned alive.
Smoked.
Holy shit.
Literally smoked.
Yeah. So she sneaks out, does some magic bullshit like to the door, like leaves a scroll at the door, and she steals Bob, the skull.
Yeah.
She puts a blindfold on him with like a magical sash, and I guess that prevents him from coming out, or that prevents them from tracking Bob, or something like that. And well, wouldn't you know it, uh,
Well, and
Dresden wakes up.
she handcuffs him to the bed, which is a big no-no, as we find out from old old Dopley
Yeah,
later.
old Dopley. Yeah. So as she handcuffed him to the bed, she sneaks out. She goes and meets with like an old like businessman looking dude in like a manor. And she's all like, "All right, where's my money? I need to get out of here." And he's like, "You didn't leave anything, did you?" And she's like, "No, of course not. I did this. I did this. I handcuffed." And it's just like, "Why did you handcuff him?" And she's like, "Hey man, like, I'm allowed to get freaky. And besides, I didn't want him like following me right away." And he's like, "You fool. He'll be able to track you anywhere in the world with those handcuffs."
It seems I need to alter the parameters of the deal.
She's like, "Come on, man, give me my money, bitch." And he's like, "Oh, I'll give you something. I'll give you something good." Pixie dust. And well, it's not just a sleep spell because
No,
she
like
like
I said,
coughs
literally smoked.
and her hand like starts like literally like being burned so fast that you can see this like the skeleton, and she starts screaming, and yeah,
Yeah.
she's burned alive in like a second. And
Now,
I was
now,
like, damn.
now to address the visual effects in the show and like the overall like production design and the budget of this series, it's very on par with sci-fi original programming from the
Yes,
era. And
I thought it was fine.
I mean, no, I that's not a knock at all.
Yeah.
Like even though the show only lasted one season, like they spent money on it.
Yeah, I like all of the effects, like, and also I'm not looking for like amazing effects, but I mean, you can't look at like modern productions like what is it, the Wheel of Time or like whatever, and think that that's phenomenal, and then look at this and think this is terrible. Like
Right.
it is like it's either fiery or smoky magic effects, or it's like Star Wars like Dark Force lightning.
I've been rewatching through Stargate Atlantis for the past couple of weeks now,
Oh
which is from the mid to late
yeah,
the mid 2000s. It ran from 2004 to 2008. Um, the CGI in that show actually still looks pretty good.
holds up. Yeah,
Yeah,
I
it
can see
holds
that.
up. Like it's noticeable that it's CGI and it is kind of dated looking, but like it still works just fine.
Hell yeah.
It's not like watching. I don't know. I've seen worse CGI from newer things.
That's what I mean. That's what I mean. I've seen like brand new things and just like laughed out loud at the CGI.
Yeah.
And now here's one of the things that maybe I'm wrong. Maybe he comes out as a person later. But Bob in the books is just his eyes just glow when he's woken up. and he's a floating like talking skull. And you could say, okay, well, one, it's easier to care about the skull or like whatever when they personify him, and it's also cheaper to just make like a dude come out and talk.
It's also cheaper and it's easier for another actor to play off of. It's
And
easier for actors to play off of each other than just
and
like a like
a CG skull that's not really there and just
that's
someone
not really
holding up a
there.
puppet
Yeah,
or
and
something, right?
it's just like a pole with like a big like
A ball,
tracking ball on it.
like a tracking ball on it. Yeah.
Yeah.
But you know what? I think I like that. I like the person. Like
Yeah,
this
and
old, like white haired, kind of like dignified, like grumpy dude, like personifying him. It works. I
yeah,
ended up really liking him.
and I think in television, which is a visual storytelling medium, I think something like having him personified as like some kind of like ghost, as opposed to just being a floating skull, I think that works better.
Agreed. Yeah. I like that. And he still is limited to like, the room where the skull is in. Um, but yeah, it,
Yeah.
it's interesting. Yeah. He can't affect the world, but he's very smart. Gosh dang it. And indeed, we find out in a flashback that Bob was Hrothbert or Robert Hrothbert.
I think it's Hrothbert, yeah.
Um, was
Hrothbert Bainbridge.
after what a fucking um after Harry's dad died, he went and lived with his uncle in this huge fucking manor and started learning magic from Bob.
Yeah.
And he's like, so he's like a genie? And he's like, better than a genie. What is he? He's very smart.
He doesn't give wishes, but he'll teach you magic.
I'm like, sounds better than wishes, actually. I'm not gonna monkey paw this shit. Teach me magic.
Yeah, yeah. Uh, give a man some magic, and he'll be
He'll
uh,
marry a princess in a day.
he'll be pixie dusting for a day. Teach a man to commit magic, and it's gonna be
They'll be fucking
rainbows
Lacuna
for
Coil
life.
bitches for life. And
That he's teaching him arcane magic,
arcane
necromancy.
magic. And at one point, he's doing a bunch of stuff on a blackboard, a little child, Harry, and he's like, wait, why am I learning this? Like, black magic is like illegal, you said. And he's like, yeah, but you have to learn how to defend yourself against it. That's not illegal. Okay, I see how this is. Everyone knows a little. It's this, not to rip on like Harry
They
Potter.
know to only use their weapons for defense.
Precisely. Like nukes. Wait. um, and much like Harry Potter's defense of the dark arts, well, sometimes you want to use some of the dark arts for yourself, And
Come on, we just gonna take a little bit of the black magic off of the top, you know? What's skimming a little
no
bit
one's
of
gonna notice.
skimming a little bit of necromancy.
What Moida? um, there's the laser comb cinematic universe mobsters making their
their magical debut.
magical debut. So we carved some runes on his skull. What big deal. But anyways, we find out
Bada bing, bada boom, you know, he's a fucking ghost. Big fucking deal.
and we find out a little bit later as he's doing like a tracking thing with the handcuffs. Indeed, the crystal Dresden is doing explodes. And he gets up and he holds like the leather or the hemp rope or whatever he was
Oh
holding.
yeah,
And he's like,
because some dude named Morgan, who I don't know who this guy
oh,
is
that's
exactly.
his like handler. That's his
Oh,
like
okay.
parole officer, like head of the, like he's in the wizard council being like, Harry, like you're on like thin ice with the black magic thing. Like you're already like advertising yourself as a wizard for hire.
Right.
He's an interesting character and he's a samurai sword. He's an interesting character in the books.
So he shows up and gives him this like crystal skull,
I
and
love that. It's just like a dollar store, like glass skull.
it's like one of those like like Dan Aykroyd's Crystal Skull
Yeah,
vodkas, the
absolutely.
like portable like 1 ounce size, like single shot size. It's
Oh, I
like
didn't
one of
know they were
those.
that small.
Yeah, you can get them.
I forgot that was Dan Aykroyd. Hell yeah.
um, yeah. So he gives him one of those, and he's like, "What the fuck am I gonna do with this?" And he's like, "Well, when shit goes down, it's gonna glow, and when you touch it, you'll just know where to go." And he's like, "That's it." And he's like, "That's it.
And he's like, thanks. Thanks, my man.
Thanks." And he's like,
And then he turns around and he's fucking gone.
he turns around. He's like, "But anyway, how are you gonna?" And he does the whole like Batman thing and just disappears.
Yeah. The ghost of Christmas yet to come. Was he even there? Um, and the reason is because wherever he is, it can't be tracked.
You want to know
Like there's
something?
like an anti-magic like field wherever he is. Turns out that's his uncle's mansion, which Harry Dresden inherited.
Inherited, yeah. Uh, you know, looking at the Wikipedia article for this show, uh, you know who one of the executive producers was on this?
No.
Nicolas Cage.
No, really?
Yeah. It's an executive producer credit, which means he probably did very little other than just like show up one day and was like, "Fuck
Oh
yeah, I love
yeah.
I love the Dresden Files."
Oh yeah, give him a hockey stick. Yeah.
Yeah. Here, I'll throw some money your way.
Hey, you guys need coffee? You know what? The hockey stick, great idea. Great idea.
It's actually a pretty good Nick Cage.
I don't know where that came from, man. I was like, holy shit, am I doing a Nick Cage impression for the first time? Give him a hockey stick. He does magic.
What am I? What am I? A fucking magician, man?
Am I a
I,
fucking magician, man?
my fucking magician, man?
Where's the crystal skull? We're, I think we're missing Nicolas Cage being Harry Dresden. There's an alternate timeline out there, a one better than this, where Nicolas Cage was not only Superman, was
Yeah.
also Harry Dresden.
And they team up.
Holy shit, with himself. Oh, I like your style. Yeah.
And it's not even Nicolas Cage playing off of himself on a green screen. No. Superman Cage reaches into the multiverse and
Oh
pulls
shit.
Dresden Cage.
The Cage verse?
Yeah.
Like he finds the different versions of himself in different roles,
Yeah.
or rather, not himself in different roles. The character is Nicolas Cage.
You know, kills the Marvel Universe. I want to see Nicolas Cage saves the universe, where it's a whole bunch of alternate Nicolas
You know
Cages.
what? He's weird enough that if we pitch this
If someone
idea,
pitched that to him, I feel like he would love it.
right? Like he's not the actor Nicolas Cage. Like he goes and he grabs Nick Cage as
Various roles.
Hellrider,
Ghost Rider, Johnny
Ghost
Blaze.
Rider, thank you, Johnny Blaze, and he just happens to be and sound like Nicolas Cage,
Yeah.
and but they're actually the character.
Yeah.
That I'm for that. Like I would go see that in theater.
Yeah. And they
Budget
they have to
two
save the
hundred and eighty thousand
multiverse.
dollars. Save the multiverse, please.
And you know
Nick
what?
Cage
Nick
saves the
Cage
multiverse.
Nick Cage saves the multiverse. And you know what? He's still young enough too that he could do this.
Oh, he's aged like a fine wine. Like maybe he's not as like physical or whatever, but like man, he's bringing it.
Yeah, he just turned 60.
That man is 60. Damn.
He's a Capricorn. He was born January
Oh
7th.
shit. He's a winter baby.
I too am a
Like
Capricorn.
the siege. I didn't know that, or that he was a Capricorn.
Yeah, I didn't know that either.
This
Okay.
alternate universe. You know, there's an alternate universe out there darker than ours, where Nick Cage never becomes an actor.
Yeah, he becomes a poet instead.
And maybe he saves poetry and then becomes president. Maybe
He
that's a
bring
better.
he brings about world peace. He like brokers peace between like the
Oh shit, that's a
U.S. and
better.
Russia.
It's a better universe. Fuck, we are in the darkest timeline. Oh, well. Anyways,
Oh, and his character from Con Air can be part of this. Like Nick Cage saves the
I was
multiverse.
just thinking that because they need somebody to fly a plane.
Yeah, exactly. We've got someone to ride a motorcycle. We've got someone to fly a plane. What other Nick Cage shit can we bring into this?
Leaving Las Vegas.
Oh, Gone in 60 Seconds, Leaving Las
Absolutely.
Vegas.
Well, he just
Fa-
dies in that. Oops, spoilers.
Face Off, The Rock.
Oh, absolutely. Face Off.
Oh, Big Daddy from Kick Ass. He's got to be part of it.
Oh shit, absolutely. What a man. I liked Kick Ass.
I still need to watch The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent.
Me too. I thought it was just me that hasn't seen it.
Yeah, it came out in 2022, and I didn't really watch a lot that year.
Yeah.
I was going through stuff.
There's stuff going on. Yeah, so we find out that the uncle that's killed Lacuna Coil
Yeah.
and has Bob is like a doppelganger copy.
Yep. Doppler.
And that his uncle is indeed dead. And in a flashback, we find out that after Harry's done traveling the world and learning magic, right? He comes back to be indicted into like the Council of Wizards. It's like major shit.
Yeah.
But we find out that because I guess you just leave this. Oh, what?
The Council of Wizards. I'm just imagining this like very like kind of like self-serious. Like the show is like pretty self-serious. Like I said in the cold open, like this show is like supernatural if it took itself like very seriously.
And that's not a bad thing.
No, it's not a bad
like
thing.
We
at
like
all.
this, yeah.
Yeah, no, I actually quite like this. But I'm imagining in this like very like dark and like self-serious show,
like a Harry Potter
going into the Council of Wizards and straight up like purple like pointy hats with stars
long beards and like wizard staffs.
Yeah.
And actually his uncle is the square who wears a suit.
Yeah.
And because of plot, Dresden's uncle left out a box of voodoo trinkets.
Yep.
Right. And also decided to wear his dad's sapphire ring. And he's like, why does he have my dad's ring? And so he pickpockets it from him because they end up like hugging, or like he holds his hands and he's like, oh, thank you, uncle, for like taking me in and teaching me magic.
I missed this. I don't know how, but I missed how he ended up with the ring. Because he ends up using the ring to use some like voodoo magic.
Yeah, he pickpockets it from him. He sees it on his hand and they like clasp hands, and he took it from him.
Yeah, because he ends up using the ring on the voodoo doll and that's actually what kills his uncle.
And that's revealed to us that Harry fucking killed his uncle.
Which it was labeled as a heart attack, but like, and one of the things Cop Lady mentioned was that it wasn't actually a heart attack. His heart was crushed, even though there was no like exterior physical trauma.
Yeah, it looks like something like heavy and like metallic, like pushed against like the valves of his heart.
Yeah,
and crushed it
from the
crushing
inside.
his ribs.
Yeah.
Would you know anything? And then it turns out the voodoo doll and the ring, and he's like, oh, so you've owned my dad's like ring long enough that this will probably work. And indeed, the way magic kind of works in this realm is like if you have a trinket or an object, and it's of value to you, and it's been like it means something to you, not value as in like money, but like it means something to you. Mm-hmm. You have memories of it. It can more strongly affect like the user, or you can track them. That kind of
thing. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's how he was able to kill his uncle, because they got in a confrontation and it was found out that he killed both their parents, or it was implied.
No,
we don't know who killed his mom.
Yeah,
Right.
At first it seems like his uncle killed his mom, but his uncle like flatly denies it. And at that point it's like, what reason would he possibly have to
You're
lie?
you no, you're right. And it's revealed later from Bob that it's like, we don't know who killed your mom.
Right.
She was very powerful. And it's revealed by his uncle, who's like a weird wizard purist. It's like, oh, you have special reserves of power, the chosen one. And it's only because of your mom. Why she would like marry down and marry someone like your dad
Yeah,
is
he
like
says that she
beyond me.
married beneath her.
And I'm like, oh, okay, Slytherin, piece of shit, pure blood. And it's revealed that his uncle wants to stir things up in the wizarding like world, and things need to change. AKA, he wants to start like killing bitches and take over the
Yeah.
wizard council for himself.
And so
So like,
Dopley wants Bob to resurrect the real the real uncle. What was his name?
I don't know, the real
Morning
uncle.
Star or something.
Right, that's his mom's uh name. Their family, because his uncle is his mom's brother. Morningstar or something.
It's something like that. Yeah. Morningway.
Morning Way.
Justin
There we go.
Morningway. Yeah. So yeah, Dopley wants Bob to use his magic to bring Morningway back from the dead. And indeed,
Um,
like what this means is that Dopley is like going to die afterward because like someone has to take his place, which I actually thought was cool. It's like, yeah, this doppelganger is just like, yeah, that's why I'm here.
and indeed, Bob is like, you don't have a problem with that? Yeah, and he was like, that's why I was made, man.
Yeah.
And I'm like, shit,
Yeah, I thought that was
sneaky.
cool. No reservations about it at all. He's like, "Yep, I
Like he's
exist.
programmed to.
I'm a copy of this person and I exist to bring them back. And as soon as they are back, I will not be around anymore." But they need and how he convinces Bob, seemingly convinces Bob to go through with this is he can restore mortality to him, like bring him back to life. And Bob is
And
like,
indeed, Bob's like,
only the original Morningway had the power to restore my life. And he's like, ah, he does. That's why you're going to help me bring him back. But in order to do that, he needs to drain the life force from Harry because reasons.
to use that life force to bring Justin Morning Way
Right.
back. So like a life for a life kind of thing. But the only wizard powerful enough to do that properly is Bob, but he can't use magic when he dead.
When he's in spectral form, yeah. So he has to bring him back, and that's the deal.
And he's like, but how are you gonna bring me back? And then yada yada yada. Sometime later, he's like, with this. And he holds up an arrow from JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. No, he holds up yeah, an arrow, a relic.
It was the arrow that was used to kill Bob's ex girlfriend, which I
Yeah,
don't.
his wife.
Well, that he refers to her as his lover.
It life partner, lover, what?
Yeah,
Yeah, like another very powerful sorcerer.
yeah.
And
Which
he's like
I was
sorceress.
I was a little confused as to why this arrow that killed her and held her life force, why throwing it into the ghost of Bob brought him back to life.
So
Maybe it took her life
there's some
force.
yada yada, yeah, and it's like, oh, I've discovered like the thing that brings life back, love. And then Bob kind of turns away, and he's like, "Will Wenifer, Welfred, whatever her name was, like an old timey like kind of name, right?" And it was like,
What is
because
love? Baby, don't hurt
baby,
me.
don't hurt me
No more.
no more. Um, and it turns out, um, the arrow that killed his Winifred's, yeah, Winifred's,
Sure. Yeah.
like killed
That sounds
her.
right.
Um, it took her life and it connected both of them, like in death. And it's like,
Okay.
okay, I'm following you. And then very unexpectedly, Dopley is just like, ha! And fucking throws it at the spectral form of Bob.
Yeah, when that
And
happened,
he
I was
like,
like, what?
what the fuck? I thought it was a ritual or whatever, like some magic thing they need to set up, where they need Harry's life to make Bob come back to life. But clearly I misunderstood because he's like, surprise!
Ah, Bob, clearly you're missing the point. Ha
And he glows green and shrieks in like pain. And I'm like, what the fuck is happening here? Because he's like, oh, you wouldn't believe the dicks I've had to suck to get this arrow, Bob. There's the love of you and Winifred is actually mythological at this point, and the things I've had to do to get this artifact. Yeah, and then he throws it across the room.
many,
Apparently, that brings him back
many
to
bitches
life.
have fapped reading to the story of your love over the centuries.
All modern romance novels based on Bob and Winifred.
Yeah.
Every single one. Yeah, he had longer hair back then, but
Longer
and
hair and like sick abs.
sick abs. Yeah, usually a pirate or a sailor.
Yeah.
Hair blowing in the wind. Olive bronze skin. A waxed chest for some reason, even though it's 1600s. I'm just describing romance novel covers.
She had big boobs and was like wearing a corset and like an ankle length dress.
But the side is like slit open
Yeah.
or torn. Dare I say?
Thigh high like spiked heels.
I think you're more talking as to your taste now.
I know that's usually your role on the show. Slowly revealing one's um
Excuse me.
I'm blanking on the word, but anyway. Slowly revealing one's tastes and
Uh-oh.
yeah.
He's playing his cards. Something. I don't know. My mic got unplugged for a second there, and I couldn't hear anything. So,
Oh. Well,
well,
you missed
there it
nothing.
is. I missed nothing.
You missed me pausing and having a complete like brain meltdown.
This
Like
is what happens.
my brain stalling and not knowing exactly what to say. You know what happened is when your mic got unplugged, something like it sent a glitch through the matrix that just caused interference like with my like neural pathways as well.
Our pathway was. I just went back to watch the part with him fucking throwing the arrow across the room at him, and it's at 22:16, and it's
Okay.
so fucking funny, man. 22:15 is to add Bob, and he just fucking like a javelin throws it at Spirit Bob, and he comes back to life. We find out that the police have been doing Uncle Justin's dirty work because they've exuded the body
Yeah.
of Mr. Morningway.
And considering he's been dead for 5 years, he's still pretty juicy.
I have some concerns here. It's clearly the actor with makeup on. They did a good job of making it look like a fucking corpse.
Yeah, I mean,
he's too juicy.
He looks like he's been dead for like a week.
Like a week.
Yeah.
Like this, and I'm like, are the police not worried about like why this guy looks like he died like less than a month ago?
Yeah.
Like,
but you know
like
what?
5 years.
You know what? Like he was like an all-powerful wizard, so you can hand wave that away, and it's like, yeah, okay, whatever. It means
it's weird that the police don't think it's weird though. But
yeah, fair.
Yeah. My another part of the
oh yeah, right, because they were the ones who exhumed the body because cop lady.
He's like, we need to do
an autopsy.
And that's how they find out what happened to his heart. Also, they call him in for questioning at some point, and he touches a pill bottle with like the label on it, and she's like, "That's for anxiety."
I remember this, and the reason she uses it to get fingerprints, and how they put it together is because the cop.
This is a little contrived.
So cop guy who this is supposed to be Chicago, but he's talking like a New York detective in his delivery. he
Maybe
comes
he's from
up.
New York.
He's like, yeah, I got the prints back, from that pill bottle, exact match to the cufflink on the uncle's suit. And she's like, there it is. He's the killer.
He's the killer. And it was like, doesn't that seem set up?
Also, what a very bizarre thing for
And then they
his
tie
for
that
his thumbprint
together
to be on, like
in the
the
flashback.
cufflinks of his uncle's suit.
In the flashback, it's almost like his uncle planned it because he was like, "Oh, Harry, help me with these cufflinks." Like
Yeah,
before they go to the wizard council
yeah.
or whatever.
Also, a thumbprint wouldn't still be on them 5 years later.
Not only that, maybe if it was pristine and no one else touched it, and the cufflink would need to be perfectly flat, by the way, right, to get a print off of it.
Well, the
But
print
you know
is
what you can't get
print.
prints off of? The paper around a prescription bottle for pills.
Well, maybe
You
it came
can't
off
get
of the
prints.
lid or something.
Oh, like his thumbprint.
Yeah, yeah, maybe.
Okay, yeah.
But but the thing is though is like your fingerprints like come from the oils in your skin. Like that's going to like after 5 years, especially being in a closed environment like a coffin where like methane gas and shit like that is like
Hmm.
coming out of a corpse. Like those oils are going to like smear around and like slowly degrade over time. You wouldn't be able to take a
Maybe
print after 5
maybe
years.
like dust, certain types of dust attaches to, probably not. I don't.
No.
All right, forensics people, let us know if you can take fingerprints from a cufflink from somebody in a coffin 5 years later.
Yeah.
I'm curious if you can. I'm with Christopher though. I smell shenanigans, shenaniganry. But wouldn't you know, this is the easiest morgue to break into because um, when Harry goes to confront, when Harry goes to go and find Bob,
Yep.
um, he finds Bob in his uncle's old mansion. And he's like, oh, holy shit, Bob. There you are. Let's get out of here. Come on, get in your skull and I'll get the fuck out of here. And he's like, no, Harry, you are the one who will be going into the skull. And he's like, what? And he's like, sleep.
And he touches him and he's
Oh,
like,
right. He
oh.
grabs him and he's like, oh shit, Bob, you got your body back. What the fuck? And then before he can like react, yeah, Harry's knocked out. And yada yada yada, you wake up in a morgue. Don't worry about breaking into the police station.
And
And they're
he
wizards.
and he uses the hockey stick of truth to use some green and purple force lightning, which actually looks pretty cool. It
It
looked
does.
cheap, but it looked cool.
Unlimited power. He uses it for a conduit to transfer the life energy from Dresden to the uncle's body.
Yeah.
And he comes back to life. And here's some freaky shit. He wakes up and it's a lot like Agent Smith. He's like, me, me, me. And he goes over to his doppelganger, and his doppelganger's like, me too.
I
And he
like how he
takes the
takes the
glasses.
glasses off of him and like takes his cane away.
Oh, and
He's
then
like
takes the cane.
takes the
This is
cane and
mine,
he's like,
bitch.
all right, into your coffin now. And the guy's just like, okay, see ya. Goes and climbs in and immediately just like decomposes.
Also, I mean, you could just say wizardly, but the guy's suit is pristine after just being woken up after 5 years.
Yeah. Again, you could
But
just say
magic,
wizard shit.
wizard shit, yeah, clean. Um, and yeah, his like body undecomposes and becomes like it was. And he's like, "How many years has it been?" Doppelganger's like 5, and he's like, "Oh shit." And he's like, "Sorry, Dresden, or sorry, Harry. Like I wanted things to be different. Maybe if I had killed your father sooner and raised you from a baby, you'd have less connection to him. Oh, such wasted potential."
You ever get
Implying that he's going to die because enough energy left him to revive his uncle.
you ever get every now and then I'll get notifications on my desktop and on my phone. I actually don't like that it does this, so I might turn it off. Or it's like relive some photos from this day.
I've turned it off, but my partner has the relive some photos from this day on their phone.
Yeah, this it also OneDrive just did it on my desktop
Oh
computer.
shit!
and it was well, it was a dirty photo of someone that I don't talk to anymore.
I think I understand.
And I was like, oh,
Thanks, OneDrive. And it's like, hey, remember this? And you're like, oh,
and I'm like, don't know how I feel about that.
thanks, OneDrive. Don't know how I feel about OneDrive sending me that, but thanks, algorithm.
Right.
And well, you know what? Now that Bob's here and he's like, with Bob at my side, we're gonna change things. The council. And he leans down and he's like, sorry, Harry. Uh, you're not a wizard anymore. And well, wouldn't you know it, Bob was faking being evil. And he's like,
Ha
not today, bitch. And he stabs him in the back with the hockey stick and literally like absorbs his power into the hockey stick. Like his body disappears and everything.
into the hockey stick, and then he comes around and slap shots it like right back
The energy
into
right back into Harry.
right back into Harry.
I like that. I thought that was fucking great. I mean, if you could choose anything to be your wizard staff, that's a pretty good. That's a good one.
And then we get a scene that's actually like pretty touching
Yeah,
where Harry is like oh Bob
because he's
like
like, Bob, why are you? You're a powerful wizard. Why are you dying? And he's like, oh, you have to give a life to restore a life.
he's like I would have never betrayed you. Like I had to do that just to make sure that he was like that your uncle was
And
gone forever.
to make sure that the doppelganger doesn't show up, because if you kill it, another one would just form.
Yeah.
So I had to make sure that the cycle would end so he wouldn't come back.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh,
And
that,
he's like,
that actually makes sense.
I always thought of you like a son. I'm proud of you, Harry. And then dies. And Harry,
That was
I'm poking fun at it, but it's actually like kind of a touching
that was
scene.
touching. I wasn't expecting, but enough of the show had gone by that I was connected to the characters.
And then immediately,
His body dissolves
reappears.
and his ghost like reappears, and he's like, "Remember, I'm like cursed to
Cursed
be
to
stuck
be
in the skull.
cursed
I
to
can't
be
pass on."
forever ensnared, never to move on.
And he's like, "Pretty touching, though. Thanks." And he's like, "Bob, you're an asshole." And
like,
you know
yeah.
what? That was actually comically followed up. Like they still had that moment, but he's like, "Oh, I didn't know you would care so much." What a trip for hundreds of years to not be able to taste, touch anything, and then for like a day, you get to, and he gave it up. Damn. And it shows the maturity and the attachment of like the characters because he's like, what am I gonna do being alive, right?
He gave up the ability to be alive and corporeal again. And
Gave up the ability to stroke one out.
after like Doppely was like, yeah, I know you miss being able to feel and touch and smell and taste
and
and fuck.
We both, I don't know if that was ever implied, but we both took away the same
Oh,
thing from that.
That was my thought immediately while that scene was going on. I was like, if this show was R-rated, he would have followed that up with "and fuck."
Oh, absolutely. Right? Like if it was HBO show.
Yeah.
But yeah, what happens in the last moments? There's actually another good scene after this. It's with Murphy and Harry.
Right.
Because he's like, okay, let me guess. My uncle's body in the morgue showed no signs of foul play. And she's like, yeah, Harry, how the fuck do you know that? And he's like, okay, come in.
Yeah, he comes clean with her about everything.
And he's like, so my uncle, you're wondering if I killed him? I did. With black magic. And she's like, oh, again with the magic. And he's like, hey, you might not be able to believe me, but I'm just telling you, magic. And she's like, and so what? Your dad was killed with black magic too? And he's like,
as a matter of fact.
And she kind of has this existential moment again at the beginning of the show. I was like, I don't know about these actors. She kind of fucking sells it, man. This is a hard thing to sell. And she's like, in your world, like I can't live in your world. I have to live in mine. And it's based on facts and logic, not emotions, you damn snowflakes, and not magic. And he's like, what? Why not? Why not? You ass stupid idiot. Why not? And she's like, because the world is cruel and mysterious and unpredictable and chaotic enough without magic. And I'm like, fuck. I
Just introduce
fair.
magic into that, and everybody loses their minds.
One bank robbery and like 5 people killed, and nobody bats an eye, but a wizard robs a bank and everybody loses their minds.
uh,
And yeah, she's can't handle that shit. And there's something like she wants to keep distant, and this is true of the books too. There's always a will they, won't they?
of
No, they're
course.
like associates, and it's kind of one way where he likes her a lot more than she likes him.
Mm.
But in the show, it kind of seems like she wants to open up, but she's hurt by too much shit, right? And kudos to the actress. Damn, she's selling it.
That's the end of the
And
episode, right?
yeah, that's the end of the episode. She leaves him an envelope because they were like looking for prints and that kind of thing. And apparently his uncle died clutching a photograph. And she gives that back to him at the very end. And it's a photograph of the astounding Dresden. And it's a picture of Harry and his dad in front of one of the posters for his magic shows. And I was like, oh, they got me in the feels twice. Damn it. And that's the episode.
Yeah.
Yeah. Without further ado, Siege, you just randomly caught an episode of the Dresden Files. Would you tune in next week?
I would. Yeah, this is free to watch on Tubi. All 12 episodes are there.
Yeah.
I might actually watch the whole thing.
Yeah. Yeah. I say it about a lot of things, but if you've listened this far, you've probably noticed that we actually really liked this. So there you go. We
Yeah,
would.
it's only 12 episodes, so
Right.
that's not really much of a commitment. They're only 40 minutes long each.
And it's like Tubi, so there's like a few ads.
Yeah. Hopefully the show doesn't end on a cliffhanger.
I I guess we'll find out.
I guess we'll find out.
Imagine. Imagine if it ended on a cliffhanger.
I shudder to think.
And well, there you have it. Two thumbs up.
Yeah, that was episode 79 of the Lasercomb podcast. Best way to support the show is go to patreon.com/lasercomb, much like Vampiro 2K21 did. We're starting at the $5 tier. You get our weekly Patreon exclusive podcast, the Super Lasercomb Patreon Super Show, commentary tracks, and a bunch of other stuff, including the ability to pick a show for us to review a random episode of on this very podcast. So go to patreon.com/lasercomb. Join our Discord. Link in the
Yeah.
description, as always. That's the only social media I'm going to plug.
Also, like we actually respond there.
Yeah.
Never checked my Twitter in like forever. I mean, I do miss being called a thieving cunt. So maybe I'll peek my head in once in a while. But
We're pretty
yeah,
candid
it's
on
just
there, too. Like,
yeah. Oh yeah, on Discord.
yeah, on Discord, we're pretty candid, and I'll like sometime periodically I'll just talk about like day to day like weird things that have happened in my day to day life.
Yeah. Yeah. Come
So,
come and say hi. Share your Transformers. Share your 90s paraphernalia. Boy, oh boy, has some Transformers been shared on there.
oh yes, not
Because we
all of them
also
mine
do.
either.
No, most of them actually.
Yeah,
Who is that? That
Daniel.
shares all of their. Yeah, I was
I think one or two other people do too, but he
yeah.
shares most of them.
Yeah, he's got a collection going. He
Yeah.
likes vintage stuff, like the early stuff it looks like.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Uh, we will be back next week with episode 80 of the Lasercomb podcast. We're taking a break from the Patreon picks for a couple of weeks, and we're going to do one of my picks.
Uh-oh. It's
This
the
one is
siege picks.
This one is one I've wanted to talk about for quite a while, and next week I'll explain how we landed on this. It's very dumb how we landed on this, but
I think it's funny.
there is actually like a line of thinking why we're covering this specifically on episode
Hell
80.
yeah.
But we're going to be talking about UFO Robot Grendizer, the
Mm-hmm.
1975 anime.
Wow, 1975.
Yeah, this is old anime. There's actually a new Grandizer video game that came out late last year too. And what's kind of great is it uses that very like 1970s style adventure-y music, even though the game's modern.
Oh yeah. Hey, this looks neat. Oh, the
Uh
art style is very kind of like old school too.
I haven't tried seeking out this show for quite a while, but about 10 years ago I remember being able to find English subtitled versions of it no problem.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, is you said a movie was coming out
A new series.
or a new series? Oh, the trailers came out last year. Oh,
So I'm gonna hit screen share.
UFO Robo Grendizer, 1975 to 1977. Hey, it has an 8.4.
Screen sharing. Okay. How many episodes does UFO Robot Grandizer have? 74. All right, one random number is between 1 and 74, and here we go. 4.
Oh shit.
Nice. Starting off early. Title is Young Blood Burning Crimson.
Hell yeah.
The Saucer Beast slash Vega monster is Saucer Beast
Domu Domu.
Domu Domu. All right. Well, we'll be back next time with that. And until then, I've been The Siege, one of your hosts.
And I'm NeoCal, your other host.
Thanks for listening. And what am I? What am I? A fucking magician, man? Am I a
I'm just
fucking
here to do
magician?
tricks. I'm just here to make magic and dance.
Bye bye.